I had a great trip up to Camp Narrows Lodge on Rainy Lake. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk about all the different lures and presentations that I used fishing this week in Canada. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. And if you like the video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hi, today I'm driving from Northwest Indiana to Sunset Country, Ontario, going to Camp Narrows Lodge on the northwest arm of Rainy Lake. I believe northwest arm of Rainy Lake is probably one of the best drive-to destinations for not only walleye, but northern pike, smallmouth, and crappie. Once I get to the border, I'm going to cross the border to International Falls. Then it's about a 45-minute ride to the boat launch. And then from the boat launch, it'll be about a 20-minute boat ride into Camp Narrows Lodge. I've been coming to Camp Narrows Lodge for, I believe this is my 8th year. I come every spring and every fall. And we have exceptional trips every single time we come. I'm not expecting this trip to be any different. This is my first day of the trip. By far, the most productive lure is the rattle trap. I believe it's a 3/4 ounce. The biggest fish I caught today was a 39-inch northern. Pre-spawn fishing on Rainy Lake. These fish are posted up on points, getting ready to go in and spawn. I caught probably 12 smallmouth on one spot within about 30 minutes. Beautiful fat fish. Fishing for smallmouth today. This is the bait that I'm using. It's a Keitech swim bait with a VMC Moon Eye jig. Catching smallmouth, they're not on the beds yet. They're just moving into the bays, but they're feeding like crazy. This is what's coming out of these smallmouth as I'm reeling them in. Pretty comparable to the bait I'm using. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and stick with that for a while and see how it goes. I told you at the beginning of the video I was going to talk about some of the lures that I use throughout the week this week at Rainy Lake at Camp Narrows Lodge. One I talked about quite a bit is the rattle trap. This lure here, I've never tried it at Rainy Lake before, but I read a couple articles before I went and I figured I'd give it a try. I've always got a ton of rattle traps in my box. So first day I started throwing the rattle trap, did really good on northern pike. Crazy enough, he even caught walleye, and I even caught smallmouth with it. So it was a great search bait, especially given the fact that the water was still a little bit cold when I got there, and the fish weren't shallow yet. So they weren't really, there's a couple spots I found them stacked up, but in general they were spread out. So this was a really good search bait to try to find them. Along with using the rattle trap for fishing for northern, fishing for walleye, fishing for smallmouth, the other bait that I used for northern was this orange and black spinner bait. Caught quite a few on this. There's a lot of sections on Rainy Lake where there's a lot of reeds that are popping up in sections. So the rattle trap would get snagged a lot. Spinner bait would come right through the reeds. Really, really good productive bait for northern. As for the smallmouth, typically when I'm here, the fish are usually shallow. So you can't beat a black marabou jig. I caught probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 fish with this year, but this is typically a lot better in shallow water conditions. I could have went to a heavier one and casted it out farther, but I just felt that it took too long. Fish is kind of slow, and I wanted to fish a little bit quicker and cover water. The other baits that I used for smallmouth were the VMC Moon Eye jig with a 3-inch grub. Basically used it in this color here. And then also for smallmouth and walleye, I caught a lot of fish on the VMC Moon Eye jig with a 3-inch white grub. And nothing fancy on the grubs. The Cabela's Action Series, they're very reasonable. I've been using these for probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and they work really, really well. The other bait that I talked about in the video is, again, the VMC Moon Eye jig. For whatever reason, I have a lot of good luck with that jig head, and this is a Keitech swim bait. Resembles bait fish. I mean, really, really good solid bait for smallmouth. For walleye this year, I used primarily what I use every year at Rainy Lake, and it's basically a combination between the VMC Moon Eye jig and the 3-inch white grub. And I really like the chartreuse too in the 3-inch with the VMC Moon Eye jig. Basically, those are all the baits that I use this week. You really don't need to bring a ton of baits. If it was a little bit later in the year, you'd want to throw some topwater also. But I thought the water was just a little bit too cold. The fish weren't active enough for the topwater. But if you have any questions about Camp Narrows Lodge or Rainy Lake, or staying at Camp Narrows Lodge, go ahead and leave a comment below. And if you like the video, please punch the like button. Thanks for watching.